Welcome to our in-depth look at breathing and respiration. In the next few minutes, we'll explore how different animals carry out respiration, review the structure and function of the human respiratory system, explain how breathing works, from the mechanism of inspiration and expiration to the exchange and transport of gases, and discuss key respiratory volumes as well as disorders like asthma, emphysema, and occupational respiratory conditions. Whether you're preparing for NEET or simply want to understand the fundamentals of human physiology, you're in the right place. In the animal kingdom, respiration occurs through a variety of specialized organs. For example, aquatic animals like fish use gills, which are thin, vascularized structures that allow oxygen from water to diffuse into the blood. Insects use a system of air-filled tubes called tracheae, which deliver air directly to tissues. Some amphibians can even perform cutaneous respiration, where gas exchange takes place through moist skin. These diverse mechanisms highlight how evolution has tailored respiratory organs to different environments and lifestyles. Humans, as terrestrial vertebrates, breathe using lungs. The human respiratory system consists of a conducting zone and a respiratory exchange zone. Air enters the body through the nostrils where it is filtered, warmed, and humidified. It then travels through the pharynx, larynx, and trachea into the bronchi. Inside the lungs, the bronchi branch into smaller bronchioles that end in millions of tiny air sacs called alveoli. It is in these alveoli that oxygen diffuses into the blood and carbon dioxide is expelled. Section 3, Mechanism of Breathing, 132.15. Breathing is a rhythmic process divided into inspiration, inhalation, and expiration, exhalation. During inspiration, the diaphragm contracts and flattens while the external intercostal muscles lift the ribs upward and outward. This increases the volume of the thoracic cavity, lowering the intrapulmonary pressure below atmospheric pressure so air rushes in. During expiration, the diaphragm and intercostal muscles relax. The elastic recoil of the lungs along with the chest wall reduces the volume of the thoracic cavity and raises the pressure, pushing air out. Accessory muscles, such as those in the neck and abdomen, can help during forceful breathing. In the alveoli, the process of gas exchange occurs by simple diffusion. Because of the thin blood-air barrier and the large surface area provided by millions of alveoli, oxygen diffuses from alveolar air into the pulmonary capillaries where it binds to hemoglobin in red blood cells. Carbon dioxide, which is produced by cellular metabolism, diffuses from the blood into the alveoli to be exhaled. Note that only a small percentage of oxygen is dissolved in plasma, while most is carried by hemoglobin. Similarly, carbon dioxide is transported in three forms: dissolved, bound to hemoglobin as carbaminohemoglobin, or mostly as bicarbonate ions produced by the action of carbonic anhydrous. Understanding lung volumes is essential in both physiology and clinical practice. Here are the key terms: tidal volume, TV, the 500 ml of air normally inhaled or exhaled in a single breath. Inspiratory Reserve Volume, IRV, the extra air that can be inhaled forcefully beyond a normal inspiration, approximately 2,500–3,000 ml. Expiratory Reserve Volume, ERV, the additional air that can be forcefully exhaled after a normal expiration, around 1,000–1,100 ml. Residual Volume, RV, the air that remains in the lungs even after maximum exhalation, about 1,100–1,200 ml. Vital Capacity, VC, the total amount of air that can be exhaled after a maximal inhalation, TV plus IRV plus ERV. Total Lung Capacity, TLC, the sum of vital capacity and residual volume. These measurements are critical for diagnosing respiratory diseases. Breathing is primarily controlled by the respiratory centers in the brainstem. The medulla oblongata houses the dorsal respiratory group, which sets the basic rhythm for inspiration, and the ventral respiratory group, which is involved in both inspiration and forced expiration. In the pons, the pneumotaxic center fine-tunes the rate and pattern of breathing by limiting the duration of inspiration, while the apneustic center can prolong inhalation. Chemoreceptors play a crucial role. Central chemoreceptors in the medulla respond to changes in CO2 and pH in the cerebrospinal fluid, whereas peripheral chemoreceptors in the carotid and aortic bodies respond to oxygen levels. Together, these mechanisms ensure that the levels of oxygen and carbon dioxide in the blood remain within a narrow range. Several disorders can affect the respiratory system. Asthma. This is a chronic inflammatory condition of the airways that leads to bronchoconstriction and increased mucus production. Symptoms include wheezing, shortness of breath, and chest tightness. Asthma attacks can be triggered by allergens, exercise, or environmental irritants. Emphysema. Often linked to smoking, emphysema is characterized by the destruction of alveolar walls, resulting in reduced surface area for gas exchange and air trapping. This leads to shortness of breath and reduced lung elasticity. Occupational respiratory disorders. Exposure to dust, chemicals, or other irritants in the workplace can lead to conditions such as pneumoconiosis or chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, COPD. Preventive measures such as using protective masks and reducing exposure are key to minimizing these risks. Each of these disorders affects gas exchange and ventilation in different ways, impacting overall respiratory efficiency. To summarize, we reviewed the various respiratory organs found in animals, then focused on the human respiratory system, its anatomy, the mechanics of breathing, and how gas exchange takes place in the alveoli. We also discussed how lung volumes are measured and how our breathing is controlled by neural and chemical feedback. Finally, we looked at common respiratory disorders such as asthma, emphysema, and occupational diseases. Understanding these fundamentals not only helps in exams like NEET in India, but also provides important insights into human health. Thanks for watching, and if you found this video helpful, please like, share, and subscribe for more detailed physiology and similar patient care content. Keep exploring the wonders of human physiology. See you in the next video. And hey, if you have any questions or want more tips on human health or similar physiology content from our group doctors in India and the United States, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment below. For more questions and suggestions, CMO@modernistgroup.com.